Okay, guys, so it is Power 30. If you don't know me, if you're listening to this recording later, I am Diamond Ambassador Melissa Shaver. I am part of the Passionate Pursuit Power Team, and these are our leaders. And we go through every single day, we go through Power 30, where we talk about mindset. We work through Power 30s, which is our income producing activities, and we just come together in community to build community, build support, and to get our intentions in the right place. So I'm thrilled that you're here. I know that we'll have more jumping on, but we're going to get started. I love Mondays because Mondays are the day that it is time to set intention, not only for today. And my hope is that you will begin to set intention every single day, but setting it for Mondays and setting it for your week, and being able to say, this is good, and this is what my intention is for today. It makes me think a lot like I do a lot of yoga, and whenever you are in a master class, a yoga class with an instructor, you set intention for that day. They have you sit in silence for a moment and they say, what is your intention for today? And every time I hear that, I absolutely love it, because it is what we should be doing with our life. For us to be able to do everything that God is calling us to do, we should set intention for our day to be able to pursue where he's calling us to go. When we don't set intention, if you've ever noticed that, even this weekend, I asked the question, are you a get it done person or are you a chill person? Which I think that there's room for us to be both people. So I love kind of hearing what those comments were. But in that, a lot of times we don't get to become a get it person and get it done because we haven't set intention. And so you might hear yourself think, man, the day is gone and I got nothing done. My thought would be aware of that. And did you even set an intention to do anything that day? So when you're disappointed at the end of the day, even asking yourself, did I even set myself a focus? Because when you set intention, your brain makes sure that you move forward within that. Does that make sense? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we're also going to be talking about assuming best intentions of others. So we're going to look at our own intentions for today and for the week. And we're going to look at what are seeing others doing their best intention, which was a very big area that I had to personally learn and grow in. And we'll be talking about that. So first and foremost, what I want us to do, I love interactive learning. As you know, I feel like I talk so much, and I do, but I also like for you to move and learn and interact. So hopefully you have paper and pen in front of you, and I'm going to ask you, we're going to start with a moment of gratitude. And so I just want you to have a moment to be grateful for today. And if you will just write out a couple of gratitude points. And then I want you to move from there, and I want you to take a moment to release being in control. So I really want you just to release. Sometimes I have to keep my hands open to the Lord. I go through active movements myself of giving something to the Lord. So I just release it to him and release being in control. I can set really good intentions, but to control can really send people to a dark place because the world isn't always going to do what you want them to do. So release being in control. And then I just want you to set intention for today, like we were talking about whenever we first started. What is your intention for today? A lot of times I have 3 questions, and I have them in my reminders, so it pops up every single morning for me at a very specific time in the morning. But like mine are, who will I encourage and speak into today? That is an intention of mine, is to speak life into people. So I ask myself out loud, God, who are going to be the people that I speak life into today? Who are going to be the ones that I encourage? Because my brain is going to go find those people for me whenever I ask that question. Another question whenever I'm setting intentions in the morning is, Where am I going to contribute? My energy, my time, and my focus. So one of my big intentions of my days is to have purpose and focus and be efficient in the work that I need to do in the time frame. I want to be efficient to where I use less time and I'm more focused versus a bandwidth of time and less focused, because there's other things we want to do in life, like go enjoy the beautiful day. So setting that and saying, where am I going to contribute that? That really goes into your top 3 priorities, which we're going to talk about. And then my other one, I always ask myself and ask the Lord, who will I meet today that's going to partner with me in my vision? So who are those people? Who am I going to have new conversations with? So your intentions can look different, but my thing is to set the intention. The other thing, whenever you're setting intention, is be very clear about who you are and who you are becoming. Now, if you're in my master class on All of Me, that the mindset group that we work with, they hear this a lot, but I think that you've probably heard it from me as well if you've been with me for any length of time. And those are those clarity words of when you know that God is sending you to a certain place, you see it, you see that vision of that. Who is that person that you need to become? Who do you need to step into? Where do you need to grow? Where are the gaps in your skill sets that you might need to grow? But where are those clarity words? So once again, for me, as I'm setting intention, I know my clarity words. They come up on my phone 3 times a day. For me to lean into, and my words are courageous and confident, passionate, and intentional. So I am very clear with where I know God is taking me. I have to become courageous and confident. I have to be passionate towards what God's passions are. And I have to be very intentional with my time, with who I am, with my projects, with what I say yes to. So those are my clarity words. What are your clarity words? That helps you set intention today whenever you know your words to say, this is who I'm going to be today. This is how I'm going to walk today. This is how I'm going to have my conversations today. So setting that intention for your day and then having your top 3 priorities. So get those things written down as you're setting intention for your day and your week. Hopefully you've looked at your next 5 days. If not, you can spend some time doing that. What's non-negotiable? What schedules do you have to do? But then every day for you to move that needle forward of personal life, business life, ministry life, you have to prioritize. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, we do the really easy things, but your top 3 priorities are probably 3 hard things. And that's what's going to move the needle. So putting those into place, I've already got mine in place for today, of knowing I have to do these things before I do anything else. So putting those things down is setting your intention, and then visualizing. I absolutely love to spend just a few minutes visualizing. You hear Olympians that visualize, you hear pianists that visualize, you hear anyone that is competitive in some type of really strong competitive training. They have been trained to visualize. I'm so grateful that I was trained that back in elementary because I was doing competitive work at that time, and it took me all the way through college of visualization, and the Lord has used it to help me visualize of where He's taking me. The thing that you do whenever you're setting intention for your day, why would you visualize your day? Because you might have some really hard conversations today. You might need to pull your kid aside and say, you know what, you were disrespectful, because now you've calmed down. You didn't talk to them at the moment because you would have whipped their booty. Amen. But now that you've settled down, you need to have some intention, and you're going to visualize what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. You're going to visualize how they might respond and how you'll respond back. Visualization for hard conversations is one of the most beautiful things you can do to be prayerfully prepared. I've had to do visualization with my kiddos because I'm kind of like very strong. My husband's the nurturer. My husband's the one of, hey, let's give some space and grace. And I'm the one that's like, bam, like, here we go. So visualization is really good for me to sit back and go, okay, grace would look like this in the midst of chaining them to their bed the rest of their life. This is what grace would look like. So I have to visualize and prepare my heart for when they push back, that I don't slam them on the floor and put them into a wrestling, neck bolting thing. Like, so that is good. You might visualize if you are wanting to ask someone to join your team. Visualize that conversation, guys. It's one of the most beautiful things. Think about what you want to say, why you want to say it, what's your intention around it. Visualize and think through how they respond, what will be their obstacles, because that prepares you to answer it. It also prepares you to answer it before they ask it. So visualization is a beautiful piece to do. We often talk about visualizing your future and the vision that you believe that God has and those dreams and living them out. Visualizing your day makes you more productive, makes you more successful in those conversations, in those projects, the projects that you do. Visualize your IPAs. Visualize sitting down and what's your posture? Are you excited? Are you anticipating? Can you not wait to have those conversations? It changes the game of your business if you'll be intentional in that way. So hopefully that has given you some really, really great tips on how to get intention every single day and to prepare your heart and to get super excited about what you are doing each and every day. Every day is to be a day of impact, a day of love, a day of serving, a day of joy and laughter. That's a lot in 24 hours. And we don't even have 24 hours because we're going to be sleeping some. So when you're intentional to know that the abundance is there for you to enjoy and for you to take in the midst of some hardship too, but you're ready for it and you're prepared. So that prayerful preparedness is what I love to say. So being able to see that. The next thing that I want to talk about that will, I hope, set you up for your day and for your week is to really look at assuming best intention of others. And so I want us to think a little bit about this. Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule woman that many of you guys know, speaks a lot about this, and so does Brene Brown. So a lot of y'all know Brene Brown, her big one on Dare to Lead. She's done so many different ones, and I've been able to be trained under her training, not her, but one of her trainers, and just some excellent work on all of us coming to the place of when we see people and view people and their actions, reactions, and conversations. When we view that with the best intentions of saying they are doing their best in that, it changes the game for how you see things and look at things. So if you were to go through your day today, you're going to be disappointed. You might be judgmental. You might beat yourself up a little bit on a couple of things. You might question why. You might spiral out of control if you're doing your business and people aren't responding the way that you want. But what if everyone that you came in contact with, everyone that you saw on social media or in your text or in your DMs or anything like that, what if you assumed that they were doing their best and it was their best of intentions of what they were doing? So if you are, I've noticed, not hopefully, but maybe you have noticed traffic has gotten crazy again. There's a piece of me that's like, praise the Lord, we're getting back to normal. Like traffic is massively crazy. And then others of me is like, y'all all need to go back into COVID life and be scared to come out. You go back and forth. But like whenever those people cut you off in traffic, or when one of your clients, one of your ambassadors doesn't message you back, like I've got one right now. Today's my 3rd day of reaching out to them. I'm like, you better contact me back. I told you we were going to work close together. Like when those people, when you see friends being together on social media and they've gone somewhere and they didn't tag you or they didn't invite you, all those different things that are going on, we get really hung up on some pretty crazy things around us that honestly have nothing to do with bringing us peace. In fact, it makes us go crazy. We become comparing and competitive. We lose joy whenever we're in there. But if you were to assume the best intentions of those people and the things that are going on, how would your life look different? how would it look different if you gave them the benefit of the doubt? One thing that Mel Robbins has talked about, and it's such a great story, but she was sharing that she was I don't know that she was a keynote speaker, but she was a speaker for a conference. And she was on with the planning event person and her agent and herself. And so they're setting up having this conversation of how it's going to look, the flow, expectations, and all these things. Like, she has signed the contract. And she said, what day am I speaking? I think is like how she said it, like, what day am I speaking? And in her mind, she was saying, like, what time of day am I speaking? But in their mind, it was like, she doesn't even know what day she's speaking. Like, we have given her this much money. We had to put 50% down. She's got all of these clauses that we have to follow, and she doesn't even know when she's supposed to be here. So instead of the benefit of intention of being able to say that was her best intention, I'm going to give her the benefit of doubt, they got really upset, really angry. The planning eventer got really upset and was like, basically, like, you made me look really bad in that meeting with that corporation. She was like, what I meant was, like, what time of day? Am I a closer? Am I right after lunch when everybody is sleepy? Am I first thing in the morning? Or am I supposed to pump them up for a big announcement? Am I going to diffuse something that just happened? I was asking about timing. She was like, if they would have given me just realizing, okay, maybe her intention was good. Maybe it was actually good. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. But one thing that she talks about is that when that happened, then she spirals, and then she over communicates and over commits. And then she, like, explains herself, and she sends emails, and she sends a voice message, and she really wants to clear it up. And what happens? Like, what she said was that planner event person that is her key contact didn't message her back, didn't say, okay, got it, didn't give her a thumbs up, like, zero. And then she went spiraling, and then she got angry. And her whole point was, if I would have just been like, maybe that event planner has way too much on her plate. Maybe she saw what I really meant, and she's going to actually go clean it up and be able to say, like, okay, like, we're all good here, like, everything. Maybe she's like, okay, Mel is doing great. She's got a million things going on. I don't need to text her back. She's a big girl. If I would have been able, Mel saying, if I would have been able to say, this is her best intention, and I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, it would have changed everything. But we use all this negative energy, and it keeps us from being intentional in our day. It keeps us from doing the work that we're called to do that day for our family, our children, our employer, our personal business, our friendships, when we do that. So being able, as you know from her, and I think that this is so good whenever we're like, okay, I'm going to believe that they're doing their best. But to do that, you have to sit back. For Mel Robbins, that would be that 5-second rule, right? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna change perspective here instead of like blowing up. That's a rule I need to have whenever my kids were at home, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pull back and realize that the concern that I have, if I saw the perspective of, she's doing her best. I've sent her the information and she's not responding, but I know she's got a lot on her plate, and being able to see that. Otherwise, we torture ourselves with that fact that people don't return our messages. They don't return our phone calls. We sent the email. They didn't say thank you. We torture ourselves over the idea that we did something wrong. How much do you do that in this business? I have to pull so many of you off the ledge of like, I'm not going to do this. Business isn't for me. They're not responding. They're ghosting me. But we build up all this stuff and we torture ourselves saying, I must be wrong. I must not be good enough. I must not be giving them what they need, versus saying, I'm going to look at it from the standpoint of best intention, and I'm going to believe that they're doing their best right now, and that it is okay. So catching yourself from saying, I've done something wrong, because that's usually where we go. I still have to work through a process, and it's been years of working through, and I'm so much better now. But I used to be triggered by text. I would receive a text and I would see it come across, and no kidding, as soon as I saw it, I thought I did something wrong. That was my first thought, was I'm about to get griped out. It could be my business partners in this business. It could be a client's name that popped up. It could be my mom. It could be my brother. Oh, if it was my brother, I just got triggered, right? I'm way better. I've gone through healing. But like you have to go through that to go, no. My thought is that I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. In fact, they're going to say something positive. It's going to be good. But because I grew up always believing I was wrong and that I did something wrong, and that if I got in trouble, it was because I did something wrong. If I was overlooked, it was because I got something wrong. I did something wrong. If I wasn't seen, it was because I did something. It was all. So now, anytime I get something, I'm like, oh crud, I did something wrong. I mean, there's even times which I've gotten way better that Rosalind Payne, my upline, would text me. I'd think, oh, crap, I bet I posted something I wasn't supposed to. That was my first thought. Why don't I instead have the best intention? She has the best intention for me. Whatever they're sending me is the best intention. They're for me. They're not against me. Do you see how that changes your perspective whenever you see it from that place, and you don't spiral and you don't torture yourself? This is so much about our mindset and changing our thoughts and the way that we see things. So Brene Brown, many of you guys know her, absolutely love her. And she has shared that she knows that her life is way better when she works from the assumption that everyone is doing the best that they can. Now, when I went through her training and read all of her books, like 4 years ago, kind of went through, I'm one of those extreme people. So I do all the books. I don't just do one. I'm crazy. But this space for me was probably one of the most healing spaces for me, is to have the assumption you're doing your best. You're doing your best. What if I just assume that? Not assume that you're lazy, not assume that you don't care, not assume that you must hate me, not assume that you think I'm ridiculous with what I'm doing, but that I assume that you're literally doing your best, and it is your best work. It is your best conversation. It is your best copy, right? And so this is my big question for you. Like, have you ever had that client, right, that doesn't call you back, that doesn't send you a text message back? And do you immediately think, well, just see, like, if they contact me, I promise I'm going to give some space in there because they didn't get back with me, and they waste their time. They're not productive with what they do. Or you have a friend that cancels a lunch date with you, and you're just convinced they just take me for granted. They just think that I can go to lunch anytime. So whenever they break that lunch date, I'm not gonna go with them next time. I'm gonna make it hard on them. What if you assumed that they're doing their best and they just can't do today? Or what if your team doesn't get on training calls and you get really, really frustrated and you believe they just don't care? They don't want to grow. They think that they know everything. What if you just assumed they're doing their best they can, and this might not be the right time for them? They're doing their best as a mom, and they might really need to be with babies right now. They're doing their best right now, even though I changed the training time, and they're doing their best. And maybe they forgot, or maybe they just couldn't get organized enough to be there. What if you assumed best? What if you have a business builder that just can't recruit and you view them as hopeless? Like, I poured so much into them and they're hopeless. What if your view and your assumption was, man, they're doing their best and I'm going to celebrate them. I'm going to celebrate what they're doing. We're going to see those small baby steps, and we're going to make it a really big deal. I think that whenever you look at things and you change perspective and you look at best intentions, and that you believe that people are doing their very best, I think my posture changes. And I'm hopeful that yours would too. One thing that in Brene Brown's training that she had us go through is she made us write down, and maybe you do that. I went through the exercise, it was trigger points, but writing down people that that make you feel a certain way. So frustration, disappointment, anger, resentment, a competitive flare. Write those names down. And then what if you proposed to yourself that that person is doing the best that they can? How does that change the way that you work with them, the way that you view them, the way that you pray for them, the way that you come alongside them? A lot of times whenever you see it from that perspective, one gentleman that was in our training that I went through, there was a person that he was very frustrated with, and he really saw as lazy. But whenever you put in that, what if you viewed them as being able to say they're doing their best? This boss, this guy was like, then I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk if I'm pushing and grinding and putting like ultimatums on them and pushing so hard, and they're doing their very best. I'm the jerk. But whenever you do that, and when we do it with our team and with our sidelines and with our business partners, it literally changes the way to make us say, maybe I need to teach differently. Maybe I need to see the gaps. Maybe there's an area that I need to come alongside and be helpful. You reassess your skill sets and where the gaps are, and you release. We started today with putting our hands out and releasing control. When we see people as best intention and we assume that they're doing their best, then it changes and we release and we don't demand anymore. So I wanted to share that with you. Is that helpful? Have you ever thought through things like that? I would love for you just to sit back and say, this person I get triggered with. This person I get super angry with. This person I think is so lazy, and the way that I speak to them comes across that way. What if you released that and said, man, Susie is doing the best she can. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I think I can help her in some areas. It changes everything. So as you set intention for today and for this week, I want you to look at yourself like we talked about in the beginning, but then I want you to look at the horizon, at those that God has called you to come alongside, to love, to partner with, and I want you to see them from the viewpoint of best intention. So I'm so glad you guys were with me today. I hope that was helpful. Y'all have